G'day everyone, cold and dreary day outside. What better day to build pedals and do a few videos. In this one we're going to be looking at the Arcadiator. This was a PCB donated from Ben from Rullywow. I've mentioned him before in my other videos. Incredibly helpful individual on the forum. He's very good with dip trace, and a lot of the skills that I've learned, I won't lie to you, they've come from Ben. He's kind of not so much mentored, but he's answered a lot of my questions, and he's helped me along the way. And his PCBs are great. It shows through his PCBs how easy they are to work with, and how well planned they are as well. Everything's so neat and tidy, and goes together so well. So this is the exterior of the box. I've posted a few videos of this on my Facebook page as I was building it, and turned out pretty well. I think I used an Envirotex look on the top, epoxy. It's basically like an epoxy, two-part plastic. Epoxy is a plastic. You put two parts together, it hardens, and it turns pretty much to plastic. As you can see in the video, in the footage right now, you can see that the top is just like, it's like glass. I've never seen a gloss come up so well. Not so much on the sides. They're not quite so, they're a little bit rougher. Probably should be able to see the drips. It's kind of a common problem with this sort of epoxy finish. You get drips down the sides. It's difficult to counter from what I'm reading. New to this, new to epoxy, but that's from what I'm reading. Let's take a look at it on the bench so we can get a better view of it. So as you can see, probably a bit clearer now, how smooth and like glass the top is. You can see the drips on the side there. That's very hard to avoid from what I'm reading. I'm still working on it. I'll be able to do a better job next time. This is the first time I've done it. As I said, it's a process. It's a learning process. You get better at these things. It's kind of like a skill or an art form. You have to work on them to get better. But generally, I think this turned out exceptionally well. I'm just so happy with that gloss look on the top. Even powder coating just doesn't do the sort of just like really over the top gloss that the epoxy can do. It just looks great. You might be able to see around some of the holes there is a little bit of a I'll just see if I can get it in view actually. Oh, there we go. On the top you can see there's actually a little bit of a sort of like a sinkhole around the holes. This is another common trait of the epoxy and how you use it. I didn't tape the back of those drill holes, so when I was actually epoxying it, it was just the top of the pedal and open holes in all these little holes. Obviously there was no hardware in the pedal, so you just have to imagine a pre-painted enclosure with no hardware on it and just the open holes. So the epoxy sort of drips into the holes and that creates that sort of sinkhole. The way to get around that, as I've learnt, is that you can put tape across the back, painter's tape, just tape it across the back, and then you fill the holes up with plastic, so it'll be a completely flat look. Across the top it'll be completely flat. You'll have just a sort of like a sheet of plastic that goes across everything, including the drill holes. Pull the tape off the back and then drill out the holes again. So you're just drilling out the plastic this time. The metal is gone, obviously, and that will avoid those little sinkholes that appear. So as I said, it's a learning process. So I'm getting better at it as I go. But yeah, you learn these things as you go, and your results get better as you go. I'll do a full video on Envirotex, as it's often called. I think that's a particular brand, but it is an epoxy 2-pack type of a product. I'll do a more in-depth tutorial video on how to use it once I get better at it. I don't want to rush into tutorial videos without the proper experience. I find I don't come out as well as obviously as you'd imagine than if you spend some time and learn these things properly. So back to the pedal, because we're talking a lot about the look of the pedal, but that is something new that I hadn't done before, so I want to talk about that, and also that I'm probably going to get questions about this too. That's just why I want to cover it a little bit. Another tutorial video is also going to be on the graphics that I've done here. A light on dark option, which is incredibly easy. I posted this on Madbean. That text is actually done with a Posca pen, which is a paint pen. It's an acrylic, a water-based paint, and you just draw. You just write on it. It's not that hard. If you can write neatly, that's all you need to do. These little doodles were actually just experiments. I'd heard that you can blend Posca paint colors together, and as you can see, on this side it's blended quite well. On this side it didn't blend so well because you have to be fast because it dries quite quickly. So that was an experiment. I don't know what that is. It looks a bit like a sun crossed with some sort of web or some spiky stuff. It's a doodle, so let's not analyze it too much, although I have been analyzing it, and I still don't know what it is, so let's just go with doodle. Alright, let's look on the inside. Actually first the knobs across the top here, just so you can see the controls. You got mode, LFO, pulse width modulation. I'm pretty sure that's an octave down. I can't remember, or maybe it's octave up. I have to look back at the build doc. And an octave switch, volume, rate, pulse width modulation, octave up, and blend, which blends between a fuzzy sort of, basically like a fuzz tone, and some of the and the octave up, which is also got an LFO frequency applied to it. Sounds a bit complicated. You probably, if you haven't heard this thing before, you're probably thinking, what sort of effect is this? It's crazy. It is very crazy. It's one of my new favorite pedals. It's great. Let's take a look on the inside now. So here's the inside. As you can see, it turned out pretty neat. There's actually not a huge amount of components to solder. You've got a lot of pot mounted PCB mounted stuff. So a good tip actually Ben has in the project file. He says to drill the enclosure first before you solder the pots and the switches in, and then put the pots and switches inside the enclosure, like tighten them up so they're inside the enclosure, and then put the PCB on top of the switches and the pots, and then solder them in. So you're actually soldering it in as it's inside the enclosure, which I thought was a good idea, because often when you have so many PCB mounted stuff, you can get a lot of stress when you're trying to shove it into the enclosure, because the drill holes just never line up perfectly, and you know, you've got these come out at sort of slightly different angles, and it just ends up being a bit of a mess. So I thought that was actually a really good tip. You may not be able to find that you can do all of the components in one go. So do all the switches in one go and then all the pots in one go. You know, so just break it up into two halves. Do the switches first and then do the pots. That way you'll be able to, because you've also got to try and line up the little legs to get through the holes. It can be quite tricky. So yeah, I found just to do, you know, break it up into smaller pieces, solder those, and then go to the next lot and do those. And that works out quite well as well. So there's really just the three main chips on this thing. I'm not too familiar with the type of circuit that this is, so I'm not even going to attempt to comment. If you want to have a look at the schematic, go to Ben's website and have a look at the schematic so you can learn a few more things about it. It's obviously got pulse width modulation, as it says on the front, which is basically breaking up your guitar signal into chunks. So it sort of takes a sample, you know, like you've usually got a smooth sort of sine wave. Pulse width modulation will take a sample, take a sample, take a sample, like a sort of stepped out effect. So it creates that sort of buzzing, sort of turns it into a sort of buzzing noise, your guitar signal, and it's got an LFO on it, as I said before, and an octave up, which gives it a very arcade type sound, which you're going to see here in the sound demo. No point me sort of describing that, because you're going to see it in the sound demo anyway. This little trim pot up top is actually for the LED on the front, which is a great idea. I'm going to have to think about putting something like that on my little 3-pole double throw boards, because yeah, it just saves one more step having to test, you know, swapping resistors till you find the right one. I've got a little LED resistor tester. This thing, as I've shown in the past, it's good, it's relatively quick, but being able to adjust the brightness is even better, because you can just change it if you find it's, oh gee, actually that was a bit too bright. You can just dial it back down again, and if you just get these little cheapy trim pots, they're only like 10 cents each anyway. So I mean, what's the big difference? You know, you might as well just use a trim pot if you can fit it, of course, which might actually be a bit of a challenge to fit on the back of a 3-pole double throw PCB, but there you go. So that's it. Not a huge amount else to tell on the inside of on the inside of the pedal. Haven't made any modifications. There's a little trim pot for adjusting the threshold, which I'll probably show in the sound demo, depending on how much time I get. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Heaps of room. Battery you can fit down the bottom there. Almost fit 2 batteries down there, so much room. So it fits into a 1590 BB quite easily, and there's not a huge amount of components on it either. I'd say it's probably medium level build. I think he may have it as an advanced, but I'd almost say medium. I don't think it was that challenging really. These PCB mounted pots can be a little bit tricky, but apart from that, it's pretty straightforward, I thought anyway. So that's it, the Arcadiator. From someone who had a ColecoVision when they were very young and played it obsessively, and a Commodore 64 and a Nintendo and a Super Nintendo, this effect is right up my alley. You'll see what I mean when you hear the sound demo. Don't forget to subscribe for more videos. Thanks for watching.